They've been going out for 2 years. He doesn't want to be engaged to someone that's overweight. That's obvious. That's why he hasn't proposed to her.
Where have you figured all this out, Sarah?
You're the one that doesn't have a boyfriend and hasn't had one for I don't know how long.
We're back with Judge Joe Brown. The plaintiff in this case says her short-term roommate left her high and dry. She says the defendant moved without giving notice and put a stop payment on her last month's rent check. Let's take a look.
Go ahead.
Your Honor, I was talking to the managers and working with them. I did let them know there were minor marks on the walls, which they agreed to send an estimator come.
I agree.
But
that's what
Sarah
you would have to
hung
do.
up on me when I called to tell her and said she didn't want to deal with it.
Because you're harassing me and yelling and cursing at me. I don't respond.
Okay, now, I want you to answer a few questions here. Let's not restrain. You allege that she just went berserk, ballistic, when you tried to get your bed moved in there.
Yes.
Now, you say, contrary to her, that wasn't because they put a smudge on the wall. It's because she didn't want you putting it in there so the landlord would see this.
First, she argued because I told her I was going to have my bed delivered that day. She'd asked me to do it another day because the manager was home. And then when the delivery men came, they made some smudges on the walls.
And
so
they damaged the ceiling, Christine.
She demanded them and asked them if they had a smaller size bed in the truck and to return my bed and get a smaller bed. And I have a witness here that was there and heard everything she said.
All right, let's go to the witnesses. First hers, then yours. Hold on. You can come on up too. Now, you are here as a witness, ma'am. What's your name, please?
Chelsea Hunter.
Stand next to the plaintiff. All right. Now, you are the neighbor?
I'm her friend.
Friend. What do you know about it?
Well, I went to visit her house like back in July in August, and the damages were not there, and I saw them a few weeks ago.
Now, over here, what's your name, sir?
Scott Goldis.
All right. You're the one that was laying around on the couch, cluttering up the place, right?
I wouldn't call it that, but I was respecting her furniture as best I could.
And the plaintiff alleges that the defendant was all bent out of shape, and one of the reasons she moved out is she couldn't stand you taking longer looks at her, meaning the plaintiff, than you were at your girlfriend, the defendant.
That is totally not true, and that's the first time I've heard that.
There was a time that we all went swimming, Your Honor, and I felt uncomfortable the way Scott was looking at me while I was in my bikini, and Christine has a weight problem, so let's just say that it was just uncomfortable.
I mean, did he say anything? Did he touch you? Did he come up and assault you, or did he just look? I mean, you know, we are human beings, and, you know, we seem to have an adequate population in this country, this state, and on this planet, and that's because boys get attracted by girls.
I just think that's inappropriate behavior for someone that has a girlfriend. That's
Your Honor,
the first thing. You should not be doing that in front of your girlfriend. And I remember Christine, before she moved in, she wanted to know if I was Japanese because apparently that was a major issue in whether she could move in with me or not. She said she was terribly jealous of Scott's ex-girlfriend, who was Japanese, so obviously Scott has an Asian fetish.
Where should we start on that?
So I completely disagree when he says she is not my type. They've been going years. He doesn't want to be engaged to someone that's overweight. That's obvious. That's why he hasn't proposed to her.
Where have you figured all this out, Sarah?
You're the one that doesn't have a boyfriend and hasn't had one for I don't know how long. And your longest relationship was 9 months, Sarah.
Judge Joe Brown will continue, and later today.
You're selling adult videos, amongst other things.
I own an adult movie company, yes I do.
Okay. You are a former, let's see.
Former performer, yes.
Performer and proprietor and director and producer. All right.
Correct, Your Honor.
Closed captioning sponsored in part by...
We're back with Judge Joe Brown. The defendant in this case says her former roommate lied about the terms of their agreement. The defendant says the landlord was not okay with her moving in. Let's listen in.
So, I mean, what are we here for? Some foolishness and nonsense, and you really shouldn't have brought the woman in here, because the one that's winning this case right now is not you. it is the defendant cross-complainant because you haven't shown the ability to lease the apartment out to her. You did. She paid up while she was there, but the lease agreement you had with her is a nullity because you didn't have the authority to lease out this premises because you didn't have that privity to the estate of the premises. So you can't. She couldn't be there as a tenant, so she had to move. So that lets her out of your complaint. I don't go for your assertion that she stole 4 wine glasses, 2 wit, 1 set, and 1 generic cooking pot, but she sure as the devil has shown that she gave you a deposit in the amount of, let me put my new glasses on here, $750 for the security deposit, $50 for the cost of the remote, which you really couldn't use. That's $800. You got the remote, by the way? Did you leave it?
No, I gave it back to her.
Gave it back to her. You got the remote, so that's $800 right there. And over here, you are not entitled to have $100 taken out of a security deposit for cleaning fees. That's against California law. In other words, you now have to give the defendant cross-complainant.
But, Your Honor, it's not fair that I have to pay, that I was screwed for October rent.
You weren't entitled to it. You couldn't lease the place out. She got out as soon as she found out about it. I don't want to hear it. You get your $800 and the court cost, your complaint is denied.
This court is in recess. Folks, I'll have you step out the door to your right, please.
The defendant brings the lease agreement proving the plaintiff was not authorized to bring in a roommate. The plaintiff loses. Now, we're on to the next case.
Item number 480.